Welcome. Now we are going to create a program called Accelerate the Blob. And the main difference between this program and the previous program is that we are not going to have constant velocity as we did in Move the Blob. We are going to have change in velocity, and however, we're going to have constant acceleration. So imagine yourself running. You cannot reach your top speed in an instant. You first need a few steps. You need to accelerate to your top speed. You need to start from zero, take a few steps, or maybe more than a few, and then reach your top speed.
Especially for me.
A lot for him. So that's why today we are going to create Accelerate the Blob to mimic that. And remember, our goal is to create a realistic game.
Right. So any objects don't just go from zero speed to their top speed, like we were doing in Move the Blob.
Right.
Like that was not very realistic.
Right.
So we're going to do one step better. We're going to accelerate the blob. You ready to accelerate this blob?
Yeah.
All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the coding link that is below this video, probably, and you're going to come up to this screen. Now, what do you do when you get to this screen? What's the first thing?
You always need to log in.
Log in right up there. Next thing?
Clear the console.
Yeah, you got to kind of find this thing. I'm going to get the cursor down there so you can see a little bit more of the code.
Right.
And I'm just going to go ahead and run this thing and just kind of see what it does. So here we go. I'm going to hit play. So now we have, it's a lot like Move the Blob.
Yeah.
But you can see there's acceleration now and there's velocity. So remember Move the Blob, you can only move the thing to the right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to hit the right arrow key and see what happens. But before I do, I'm going to click the screen because I know how to do that because it says click this screen first. And here we go. I'm going to hit the button. There we go. Now there's a purple arrow whenever I'm pushing the right arrow, right? That purple arrow, that's the acceleration vector, okay? And if we're accelerating, then you're going faster. So if you notice that whenever that purple arrow is there, you're going a little bit faster and a little bit faster, and as soon as I let go, then it's constant velocity, right? So that's kind of the idea of it. Now, it wouldn't be fun to be able to move this thing in all kinds of different directions. If I push the down arrow, the up arrow, the left arrow, doesn't do anything. It would be a lot more fun. We can make those arrow keys work.
So before we actually create the game and make the other arrow keys work, let's just take our time and walk through each part of this program. So let me first zoom in so you can get a little better view of what's going on. Let me also pause that so it won't be going through my body.
It's not annoying at all.
Yeah, so and a lot of this will be very similar to what you did and what you saw in Move the Blob. Okay, so we're not going to spend too much on the time on the things that you saw before. So as before, you already had the X and Y, and as before, you already you already had the Vx and the Vy, the velocity in the Y and the velocity in the X direction. However, this time we have something a little bit different. We got ax equals 0, ay equals 0. Now the a stands for acceleration, and so ax is the acceleration in the x direction, ay is acceleration in the y direction. So that's a little bit new. We got dt, that's familiar, right? Now we got the draw function. We already know what that is. And now, hold on, we got something different. We got a comment that say update velocity, and we got this crazy looking equation, or not crazy because there's a video that we done, you can go to it that explain what's going on between this plus equal. Now, this is new, this is different from the Move the Blob because we did not update the velocity, so we are going to talk about that in great detail a little later in the video. We got the update location, which is similar to what we had to Move the Blob. And also, we got something else new. We got ax equals 0. Now, if you was above the draw function, we got ax equals 0 again. So we got two similar lines in two different locations. So we definitely need to explain that. Now, as before in Move the Blob, we had the left arrow, the right arrow, the arrow keys, the game controls, as you did in Move the Blob. So we're not going to talk much about that. However, in this, we got, instead of having a Vx equal 2, we got Ax equal 2. So that's a little bit different, and we definitely need to go into great detail about that. So we got display, we got draw the blob, but that's something that we really don't want to mess with, okay? So let's start creating our game. But before we do that, we need to have a little bit of understanding of what's going on. So let me call on the doctor to explain what is going on with
All
this
right, the
equation.
doctor is in. So the main thing we got to talk about is this update velocity thing, which we didn't have before. Last time we didn't have to update the velocity. It was either it was 0, or I think the value we had last one was 10, right? So
Right.
we're pushing one of the arrow keys, velocity is 10, otherwise 0, don't have to worry about it. So the update velocity thing, so that idea, it's kind of like, so let's say that you're accelerating from gravity, so your acceleration is 9.8 meters per second squared. So if you're falling for 1 second, your velocity is going to change by 9.8 meters per second squared times 1 second, so that your velocity is going to change by 9.8 meters per second, right? So that's a little bit like what this line of code is doing. So you're taking your current velocity, you're updating it by that amount. If it's 2 seconds, then your velocity changes by 9.8 times 2, which is 18.6 or something. I don't know what that is. But anyway, but that's kind of the idea of that. So it's not any scarier, certainly not any scarier than this. And if you can go back to the last video to talk about how we got to that equation. Now this is kind of an interesting one. So it says acceleration is 0 unless the keys are pressed. And so that's kind of like saying, you know, if it's a lot like Newton's first law. So Newton's first law is objects in motion stay in motion, moving in a straight line, not speeding up, not slowing down, as long as there's no forces and there's no acceleration. So this is kind of telling the computer that, like, hey, there's a thing called Newton's law. It's not going to accelerate unless we push one of these arrow keys, is the idea. Okay? So that's that. That's the main difference. Now the first thing, all right, you ready to modify this thing?
Yeah, so let's actually create the game because we talked a lot and we're not having fun. I'm not having fun. So let's actually make the game, okay?
Sorry for boring you all.
So let's first zoom out because I want a better view of it. And code is boring compared to the actual blob. So let's play it. Let's see what we got going on here. We only got a blob moving in the right direction. We can't move it in the up or left arrow, so let's pause it. Our first goal, let's try to make it move in the left arrow, okay? That's the first thing I think I want this blob to do. So let's go down to the left arrow section. And if you want something to do the opposite, as in math, or I'm done with math, just add a negative, okay? So AX equal negative, and you can make this number be anything. You can make it be 30 or 300, but we're just gonna make it be -2, okay? Always semicolon, and let's play it, and let's see what is going on. So let me step out to the side, click the screen, move in the right direction, and now it moves in the left direction. And also, I just want to make a point here. As you can see, this blob is slowing down and actually going faster and faster. You can really see it when we have both directions in it. So that's the acceleration that we are referring to. Okay, now, next thing we want to do is make this blob move in the vertical direction. So let's go to the update location first. Okay?
Well, why don't we just do the up arrow first?
Okay, let's do the up arrow first. And let's
just see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. And let's play it. Click the screen. And as you can see, we got the left and the right arrow, and then we don't have nothing going on in the up direction, right? So it's not moving in the up direction, and we don't know why that is happening, and maybe Dr. Orban can explain to us what's going on with that particular section.
So we got to look at the code. We're missing something in the code. So the first obvious thing to me that I think we're missing is that you remember I moved the blob?
Yeah.
We had to do because it wouldn't go up and down, things like that.
Right.
So you remember which section we changed?
We changed the update location section, right?
So let's go ahead and do that, and maybe you can take a step back so we can see what's going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this update location, you notice that we're updating the X position, but we're not updating the Y position.
Right.
So we got to go ahead and do that. So go ahead and do it like this. Plus equals Vy times Gt. So, all right, let's try it again. Let's see if that works. That's what worked in move. And remember in the move the blob, right?
Right.
All right, let's see if that works. I'm gonna click that. I'm gonna hit it. Oh, it's not.
You forgot to. You know what you did? You know what you did? You know what the Dr. Urban did? Step aside to the student. Let me get in my own Zoom.
Is there something else we got to change in this thing?
So let me do this. The students always rule, you know, as always. So he made a mistake. I am perfect. So we had changed the up arrows to AY equal 2. That's what we want. We want the acceleration of the blob to be a value. We want it to be 2. We want if we press the up arrow, we want it to go up. That's what we want. Now, what we got going on here is, I press it, right, click the screen, moves to the left, moves to the right, but it doesn't move. What is the problem? Okay, so let's talk about it. Let me pause that, let me zoom in, let's look at the code. Now, so we talked about the up arrow, we got that, check. We got the update location, check. However, remember, the key difference between this program and the previous program is that we got to update velocity. So we got to update. We only got the update velocity in the X direction. We got to have the same for the Y direction. So let's add that. Vy equal plus equal, right? AY times, look at me, I'm all over the place. There we go. Times dt. Semicolon. So let's see if that was the mistake that Dr. Orban made. So let's zoom out. Let's press play. Let's click the screen. And so we got the right, the left. Let's see about the up. So it's moving.
There we go.
It's actually moving. However, it is constant.
Wait a second.
It's constant.
Are you touching the keyboard right now?
No, so it's moving,
Oh, no.
however, but it's not actually slowing down. And if the thing is that I am not pressing the arrow, and it's just constantly moving. So let's see if the Dr. Orban can actually make up for his mistake and fix the problem.
Another bug in the code. Here we go. All right, so we got to look at the code. We're missing. Usually, we're missing something. Sometimes we put too much in. But anyway, we're probably missing something the way things are going today. So, all right, let's look at this thing. Maybe can I expand that out? All right. So what? Let's see. So all right. So we're updating the velocity, right? And so we take the acceleration, we multiply by the time. We take the new value for the velocity, Vx and Vy. We use those new values to update the location. But then we set the x acceleration to 0, but we don't actually set the y acceleration to 0. So even when the keys aren't being pressed, we might have an acceleration going on in the y direction. I think that's probably what's going on. So let's try that one out. So I'm going to set that equal to 0, and I'm going to try to see if I can drag this thing back over. That would be impressive if I could, wouldn't it? All right, here we go. I'm going to hit play, if I can find the play button. All right, let's see. I'm going to click the screen and up. There we go. So you notice it only gives you that purple arrow when I'm pushing down right now. See, there you go. And then it's just constant speed when I'm not pushing the arrow.
Right.
Right.
So, perfect.
We did it.
We got a program working, and there's one final step that we need to do. And since you're over there, Dr. Orban, you might as well put it in there.
Okay. So you notice that I'm going to go ahead and press the down arrow. Nothing's happening here. No part. I can press right arrow. That's kind of fun. Look at that. That's cool. I can accelerate to the right, accelerate to the left. That's pretty sweet. I can accelerate diagonally up and to the left. Look at that. I can press up and left arrow, but I cannot press the down arrow. Nothing happens. And let's look at the code, see what else is left here. So you notice that here's the code that for when you press the down arrow. If you look real closely at that one, it says do nothing. Maybe that's why it's doing nothing when I press the down arrow. What do you think?
I think that may be the problem.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in here. And, you know, it's a lot like the move the blob from last time, remember? Because this was kind of the last step, getting it to move downwards. We had to do the down arrow like this. All right, I'm going to pause that. I'm going to move this over here. We're going to start it over again. And here we go. All right, let's see if this works. So I'm going to, whoops. All right, we're going to go up. So far, so good. Can I go down? Here we go, moment of truth. There we go. Accelerating downwards.
Awesome, awesome. We got a working program and everything is perfect. And I hope you guys actually see how this is.
It's more realistic.
Right.
Right?
It's something that Dr. Orban wanted to create, even though Mario Kart is still the best racing game in the world.
So anyway, it's a baby step towards making realistic games. We have more exercises, more things for you to do, more realistic games on the way. But if you got this far, if you go to the next page and you can kind of play around with the program yourself, if your program behaves like that program, then you can go ahead, give yourselves the thumbs up, download the hour of code certificate, print it out, put it up on the wall, put it up in your car. I don't know, refrigerator?
Sure.
I don't know, do something cool with it.
Yeah.
Make a t-shirt out of it, I don't know. But congratulations if your code is working the way that our code is.
Absolutely.
You completed the hour code. Great job.